I want to have an honest discussion about the privacy argument. I want to talk about both sides, and I'm not here to try to switch you to my ideology or whatever. I'm just here to talk about this honestly because a lot of people fail to realize that the internet represents a small fraction of the rest of the world. And I've talked to many people, ranging from privacy advocates and people like that, all the way down to just average, everyday, random, mom and pops, right? And I've had this discussion with many of them. I've heard many differing perspectives, and I want to just talk about it all. And then I want to give my honest thoughts. All I ask is that you hear me out. Most people clicking on this video already have the reserves regarding privacy, and I'm not necessarily here to change your mind. I'm just here to give you something to think about. I'd like to actually start this video with an important question that I think many privacy advocates don't think about. And it's that most people, like a very large majority of people, are already very well aware that Google tracks, all their bullshit, that Facebook tracks everything they do. They're already well aware that they're getting targeted advertising and shit. I hear so many less tech savvy average people who aren't even on the internet really and stuff like that constantly talking about how they'll talk about something, they'll check their phone, and then all of a sudden they're getting ads for it. Or sometimes they never even talk about it, they just think about the thing and then the next day they're getting ads for it, right? And so people, the masses are already really well aware about the tracking and the spying and everything. They know, but then they still don't seem to care. And what I want to ask is, why do you think that is? And I really I feel like that people always jump to conclusions, especially on the internet. It's very easy. The simple answers are the answers everyone runs to. So I already know many people are going to be like, it's just because nobody cares, all this stuff. But I want you to really think about that, because now talking about the people who I've, at least because I can only speak to the people who I've personally talked to, all of the people who say, I don't care about privacy because I have nothing to hide. It's not that they don't care or whatever, it's just that they genuinely believe that it's just, why should I care? It doesn't bother me. Because you got to think, they've already been doing it. They've already been going on this long, just living like that. And nothing seems to be happening to them, right? Sure, they get personalized ad targeting and stuff like that, but that doesn't bother them. They don't give a shit. And so it's like, why should they care? And then a lot of people, this is where the point where privacy advocates will switch to ideology. And idealism is what it sounds like. It's, oh, it's because they're spying you and tracking you. And then they start talking about morality and ethics and stuff. And then that's normally where people just kind of are like, oh, okay, most people don't care. That's the thing. Most people, and it's not that they don't necessarily care about privacy as much as they just don't see at all why that bothers them. And I'm not here to try to convince you anything, right? Like, they have a point. And that's something that I want privacy advocates, I know a ton of people are going to dislike this video, comment, all the elitists and stuff are going to really hate me for this take because it's a really hot take in the cybersecurity industry. But I really want you to think about that. And it's the fact that, they they're not idiots, okay, thinking that the whole world is idiots and I'm the only smart one, me and this little community of people hunkered down in our bunkers with our graphene OS phones and stuff on running, Gen 2 Linux and shit that we built the kernel ourselves, right? Like, it's not that the whole world is stupid and that you're the only right guy. It's you really got to think about this realistically. And again, and that sounds like an attack, and I am throwing some shade right now, and it's because I've, seen this so many times, being involved in the cybersecurity, community, I guess you could say. A lot of my work is cybersecurity stuff. I've been doing cybersecurity related content for a while now. So even being involved in discussions and everything like that, I see a lot of this kind of behavior where it really seems like they're just, oh, the newbies, the noobs just running Windows or whatever. And that's a funny thing is a lot of people notice that I'm actually running Windows on my computer, and they think that I'm just, they think I'm a corporate shill. I've, the amount of times I've been called a corporate shill or some shit like that, right? And that, to briefly touch on that, I really think that privacy is not about purity, and I think that security is not about purity. It's about threat assessment. It's about risk management. It depends on the person. No one size fits all. That's the same argument I use whenever I talk about like the Linux thing and all that, because so many people are like, oh, you have to use Linux, you have to use Linux. You're gonna see so many YouTubers talk about Linux, right? And they, fucking glaze the shit out of it, act like it's the best thing ever, and then most people find out it isn't. And then they just go, oh, well, it's just because you're an idiot or whatever. And this might sound off topic, but it's completely relevant to the discussion of privacy because it's actually a very similar issue. And you really got, instead of just thinking about, oh, well, they're just idiots or, oh, whatever, right? You have to think about the real core reasons of why they, are leaving. And you got to think less tech savvy users, I'm not trying to call them stupid, because they're absolutely not. Like, I know some really fucking smart people who are just not good with computers. There are some really, really talented people. I know someone who is working to be a car mechanic, and he is extremely smart when it comes to that kind of shit. Except the difference is he is not good with computers in the slightest. And it's not that, again, he's an idiot or whatever. It's just the fact that people are smart in different ways. And as far as that goes, my whole point of mentioning that is I don't want people to just be calling each other stupid because that's such a cop out. And I'm tired of the cop outs when it comes to this argument. I want to get down to the real brass tacks here, the real root causes of these problems, because sitting there and beating around the bush doesn't resolve anything. Now, as far as this whole situation goes, when it comes to Linux and why it ties into privacy, is again just you have these privacy users trying to promote this thing and stuff, which in a lot of ways is better, but then they completely fail to see the lack of appeal, the lack of broad appeal. Like, and that's the same case with privacy, right? They don't talk enough about the actual implications where nobody cares. And honestly, I don't blame them for not caring, because trying to sit there and sell to you this idea or this thing, oh, yes, you, sir, need to uproot everything you do, your entire way of life, and how you do all your shit. You need to go change all these settings, install this system. You need to go learn all this bullshit. You need to completely change the way you do stuff. Oh, and also you're going to be missing all this functionality stuff, but don't worry about it. It's for privacy, right? And then your only thing that you're citing of why it's better is idealism, right? It's that, oh, my privacy. And that's that is a hard sell. That is not an easy sell. I am someone who's pretty privacy focused and stuff like that, and yet I still use Windows. Now, to be fair, I built a tool and everything to minimize, to make Windows much more private, to get rid of all the garbage in Windows and all that stuff. But even then, and that's just because I like to not have any of that garbage on my system, but I'm still using Windows, and the reason why is because I enjoy the convenience of it for my kind of workflows and for what I do. I grew up with Windows. I just know it better. I feel like it's more stable. I made a whole video yapping about that already. I'm not going to go back into it. And this is the same case with a lot of people, right? They have their iCloud accounts, they have their Google accounts, right? They don't want to move all this shit over to Proton Drive. They don't want to, do all this shit without a good enough reason. And normally, a lot of these privacy alternatives can end up being really expensive, whether it be your time, your effort, or your money. I know that Proton Drive and stuff, to my knowledge, is more pricey than just Google and everything else. And that's a realistic reason. I've talked to a lot of people and tried to have genuine conversations about, like, well, why aren't you interested in this stuff? And the reason was always the same. It was just, I don't really see the point. I don't have anything to hide, and it's just, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of whatever, and I'm just trying to get shit that works. My shit works, I'm not gonna fuck with it. And that's really, when you think about like engineering and stuff, that's the engineer's mindset, right? It's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And a lot of people have this mindset with their stuff. And it's not incompetence, it's not laziness, it's not any of that. Because if the whole world was like that, then you'd really think that things, you can go on about, if you really want to believe that the whole world is stupid and you're just the only one who's smart, I think you need to evaluate yourself there. I think you really need to sit down and actually think that over some more. Because chances are you haven't had a girlfriend in a while. Roast aside, roast aside. I want to actually get into my thoughts on the whole privacy thing, because I still believe that privacy is really important. I believe that it's a fundamental right, and I believe that it's constantly being violated. Literally, almost everything in from every angle is attacking your privacy because it's not treated like a fundamental right when it really is. It's not, and again, that sounds idealistic, and a lot of people are just going to be like, okay, that sure, but it's well, what's the actual reasoning? And then when you start to talk about the reality of the situation, like, oh yeah, your car collects data on you, your car analyzes how you drive and shit. Like, I had a conversation with my mother about that, about how these kinds of cars, they track your, they send that data to the manufacturer, and she was like, I don't care. Okay, I'm a perfectly fine driver, right? I've been driving all my life. And the part that you fail to tell them, though, is that the real implications, the fact that they'll sell that data to insurance companies so that way they can raise your rates. And that is something that people will start to pay attention to. And then when you tell them that someone was on a roller coaster, and had their phone on them and their phone mistook them, they had one of those apps where it's like, you can save if you get this app to let us track your driving to see that you're a good driver and stuff. He had one of those apps, and he went on a roller coaster and it thought he was in his car, and it thought he was driving recklessly, and it raised his rates, and then he had to pay a shit ton more for his car insurance. Something like that is a much stronger argument, because people will go, holy shit, that's fucked up, I don't want that to happen to me, right? Then people care about not spending more money on that shit. So then they realize, oh, this app is too good to be true. I can get money back just for sending my driving. And then they don't realize the real cost, but you have to explain it to them in a way that's actually relevant to them. You're trying to sell this idea to somebody. You're trying to convince them to do something, right? And you can't just fucking sell them on morals and good ethics. You have to sell them on something tangible. So it's like, with to go back to the debloater that I made for Windows called Talon, which is the tool I made to rip out all the crap, right? When privacy's great, but that's not the main argument I used for Talon, right? Talon has the extra bonus, I'll call it, of also making your system a lot more private by removing telemetry and all the spying and tracking and bullshit, but that's not how it's marketed. It's marketed as a tool to get rid of AI, to make your computer faster and more performant and feel snappier. And now that's an argument that people will actually buy, because any kind of tool that's going to try to be a deep loader like Talon and is just, arguing ethics the whole time as the reasons why you should use it, people are just going to go like, yeah, you know. And this is, again, I can only speak from the people I've talked to and the experience that I've had so far. But so far, this has been something that I've repeatedly seen in every person I've talked to, both on the internet and off the internet. And I've gotten into a couple even heated discussions with more privacy focused individuals who were talking about their thoughts on privacy. And it really did seem like it was the biggest issue when it comes to the overall privacy argument, is that they're really not focusing on arguments that even actually matter to people. Um, People just don't care. Okay, like that's the reality of the situation. That's not some kind of doomer speak or whatever. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? I'm not able to just speak for people. I don't let me just be your mouthpiece. Speak for yourself. Do your own research. Talk to people. Don't just blindly believe what some man on the internet's telling you. But and because I'm just speaking out of my ass right now, speaking from experience and everything. But I feel like, from everything that I've seen, this is really something that not too many people are even talking about. I know that there's some people who've brought up this sort of thing before, but I feel like I feel like this has never really been brought to the forefront too much, and it's not something that they'll talk about. And the reason why I don't think that it's something too many people will talk about is because, as unfortunate of a situation that it is, most companies that um, advertise privacy and all that stuff as like their main thing, they're like all about the privacy and all that, they're actively incentivized to not have a problem be solved. And I don't want to sound conspiratorial, I don't want to be attacking the privacy community, but I do think that there's a conflict of interest with a lot of privacy focused organizations, where if there's no problem for them to solve, then they're kind of useless, you know. So there needs to be a problem. So they're actively incentivized to not solve that problem. And and the reason why I bring this up is just because it plays into my point that I really feel like this conversation is never fully brought to the forefront and is never actually discussed rationally. And it's an unfortunate situation. I would love to see more privacy focused YouTubers and stuff like that actually give their thoughts and opinions on this matter and speak to their own experiences and talk about that. I mean, I can't really ask for much at the end of the day. You know, it's just me yapping right now. It's like 2 a.m., but it's a discussion I wanted to bring up. I hope that you all will at least think on this and that maybe you can have some discussions with people in your life. And hopefully, this can open up a more open discussion regarding privacy. Now, I want to make something clear. I don't want people to just be attacking each other viciously in the comments or anything like that. You got to understand that people, at the end of the day, people are not just idiots. As much as you, oh Jesus, as much as you really want to believe that, you know, as much as you really, it is an easy cop out to just believe that people are idiots. You hear them out, okay? Hear them out on their opinions because a lot of people you could write off as stupid, even regarding this privacy argument, actually might have some valuable insight. You can see how other people think about this situation, and even if they may be wrong, that's how they think, and whether you like it or not, that's how the masses think. You know, it's a marketing issue at the end of the day with privacy is how you're selling this to people. You need to change the way that you're selling this concept to people because that's just not how you're going to do it. You don't just sell an idea off of, you know, that. Yeah, you have to give them tangible reasons, tangible benefits that actually affect them positively, minus just, oh, big government isn't watching me now, you know. That's really about it, though. See ya. And I know I said I'd be posting more better edited, higher quality videos. My videos would be higher budget and everything like that. I'm sure you noticed this video is a lot more like my others, where it's kind of just man yells into camera. I'm still going to be posting these kinds of videos now and then. I want to start speaking my mind more. I'm going to start using this channel a little bit more like a diary as well, where I just give my thought pieces on these different kinds of topics related to cybersecurity and stuff, just based off of my own experiences and whatnot. But then also there will be the higher quality videos and everything like that, like the Playing God documentary that we're working on, which is still coming, by the way. I know it's taking time. Filming, the hardest part of anything like that is we're actually trying to go out and film. And then there was a freeze that happened recently and stuff like that. So it's just been complex to try to get that all going. But we're getting it done, and that will be out hopefully soon. I'm imagining it'll probably actually be a month or two, just judging by the current delays and everything that's going on, because we want to make sure that we take our time, get it right. We want to make something tangible. And then, as far as the community authorization request, if you watched that video where I made a community authorization request regarding alternate, so I'm actually actively working with the bank to get a business bank account open for Raven now that we're a company. And then we're working to hiring a licensed attorney to help with governance and contract review and everything like that, so that we're making sure we are actually legally standing strong and that we are actually doing things the right legal way. And then we'll be going from there. So that's about it. See ya.